right? I mean, a month ago, Brian Haydad was telling you that they're still playing hard, and I kind of saw something, and maybe it's a long shot. And then 2 weeks ago, not just Brian Haydad, but we collectively were going, well, they're playing hard, and there's some signs. And if you look at the second half of the schedule, there's an opportunity. And then last week, we're like, okay, they've won 3 in a row, and now they got Missouri coming in, and this is a big opportunity game, and the atmosphere is coming back to Humphrey Coliseum, and now everybody's taking notice. Joe Lunardi still has them very much outside looking in, but they're in striking distance right now. We have gone from a map that was scratched out and faded on a tattered piece of paper that had been buried in a bottle in the mud and dirt, like that you could barely see a route on, you just kind of had to guess on, to a very clearly defined Google Maps printout that if they do these things, they will reach the destination. That's where we are now.
The whole first part of what you were saying reminded me of that scene in Major League where, like, these guys, they aren't that bad. We just need the Chinese groundskeepers to come in here and tell us how they actually are. But, yeah.
Do we know, by the way, if there's a pin-up in the locker room where they're taking a piece of paper off?
Who would the pin-up be? That would be the question. Who would it be?
In 2023, I don't know.
It's Joe Lunardi's wife? Who is it? I don't even know who it is.
Sam Smith.
I have no idea. It's you, Richard. But anyway, yeah, Borky said it. The path is there, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But I talked about it a lot on Thunder and Lightning today, that when you look at the schedule and the way it sets up the rest of the way, State has a lot of opportunities to get quad 1 and quad 2 wins, and some of them might surprise you. I'll just give you one away right now. Ole Miss, as it stands right now, is a quad 2 opportunity for Mississippi State. They're at 125 in the net, 76 through. I have started studying my net. 76 through 135 on the road is a quad 2. Now, Ole Miss has games to play between now and then, and if they lose some of them, they could drop out of that. But as it sits right now, that's a quad 2 opportunity for State. So State can really put its resume together if they keep winning. But that's the key to all this. They have to keep winning.
I was looking at the remaining schedule, right? So you've got 8 games left in the regular season. There are 4 at home and 4 on the road. And I think there are 2 categories of games here. We love to classify games, right? Into, can't lose / must win, opportunity versus consequence, however you want to describe it. But there are 4 games that are in the can't lose, must win category. LSU, Ole Miss on the road, South Carolina at home, and Vanderbilt on the road. All 4 of those teams have a triple-digit net, right? They are 100 or farther. You don't want a loss to a team outside the top 100 on your profile, especially at this point of the year. So,
and State doesn't have one.
Right. So you need those 4. And then of the other 4, you've got a road game at Arkansas. They're 29 in the net. A home game against Kentucky, a road game at Missouri, and a home game against Texas A&M. I think you got to go 2-2 in those 4 games.
6-2 gets you in.
6-2 is that 9 or 10 in the conference? Is that 9
that
and 9?
That would be 9 and 9. Yeah, you're in. You're in.
With a net in the 30s at that point?
Yeah.
Probably like low 30 or high 30s, like 38, 39, something like that. You're in.
I think that's good enough on the resume.
Just make one of those 2 losses not South Carolina.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can't like 4 wins in the 4 games Richard listed, no question.
And 5. Let's stick with Mississippi State for a second. So they were hosting Missouri, and Missouri was a different type challenge. Missouri is a team that scores, right? They get up and down the floor. They shoot a lot of threes. They want to play fast. They want to grab it and go, all of those things. And who are we talking with? It was Mike Kelly that we were visiting with on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I ask about dictating pace one way or the other. Mississippi State wants to slow it down. Missouri wants to play fast. How does this work out? Well, it worked out in favor of Mississippi State. And it worked out that way largely because, well, two reasons. Mississippi State shot it okay. So Mississippi State made some shots. So Missouri was not able to just grab it off the rebound and go the way they would like to off misses. And Mississippi State's transition defense was really, really good as well. They didn't allow, when Missouri was able to just get out and run, for the game to turn into a track meet. Missouri had 11 fast break points in the game. That is a number that you can live with. That's not what they want. For that team, that's absolutely a number that you can live with.
And another number, Borky pointed this out on Friday. They average 11 steals a game. They had 4. They had 4 in this game. State did a good job of protecting the basketball. State, they're 3 of 20 from deep. Not great.
No,
Eric Reed, that poor guy is in an awful slump. He was 0 of 6 to the point where I felt like Missouri was leaving him open because they weren't worried about the ball going in. But if you do the math, State was 18 of 30 inside the line. So they were getting great looks inside the line. Tolu Smith, obviously. And I don't think it's a coincidence that State has been playing better now that Tolu Smith is playing better. SEC Player of the Week, as announced today, he's the best player on the team as the team goes. And one of the things we've talked about many times on the show is the game planning for that has been great because the game plan was obviously get Tolu the ball and good looks or get him to the foul line. The problem was he wasn't making the shots. He would have good looks. They wouldn't fall. He'd go to the foul line. He couldn't hit the free throws. Saturday night, he did both. He hit the shots, and when he got on the free throw line, he hit the free throws. And that's just the difference for Mississippi State. It would have made a huge difference in several games this year.
And let's illustrate. This was his stat line. 35 minutes. 25 points on 8 of 12 shooting and 9 of 12 from the stripe. With 12 rebounds, including 5 on the offensive end, 2 assists, and a block. And again, that's in 35 minutes. He played basically the entire game.
Yeah, really played well for Mississippi State. And State, was in trouble late in the game when Deshaun Davis and Shaq Moore were both sitting on the bench with 4 fouls. And State had to go to an unusual lineup. Cam Matthews and DJ Jeffries were in the backcourt with Tyler Stevenson. And you had Eric Reed out there, but you couldn't really – you were almost playing 4-on-5 on the offensive side of the ball. But Matthews and Jeffries did a great job for Mississippi State. Protected the ball, extended the lead, and they just played well. Missouri, defensively, though, that's where the game was won. Missouri averaged 83 points a game. State held them to 52. That's an incredible stat.
Which, by the way, was their lowest outpoint of the season by 12, I think. I think they had scored – it's either 63 or 64 that they had scored 3 or 4 times. And Mississippi State held them to 52.
So,
Borky,
so now here we are.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was driving back from Nashville Saturday night. And so I was able to listen to the end of the game once I kind of got into range.
Weather keep the plane down?
Say what?
I did a Hey Dad joke. I said, weather keep the plane down? Nailed it.
Touche.
A 12-minute flight.
I was fascinated by what Chris Jans had to say, though, about Cam Matthews and DJ Jeffries when they kind of had to be the co-point guards with Shaq Moore and Deshaun Davis on the bench. And he said something Missouri was doing kind of played to our advantage. He said there are 2 things here. One, year-round, we do 4-on-5 drills. 4 offensive players against 5 defensive players where it's like scramble. There's traps coming from all over the place. So we work to prepare for that situation. He said, but number 2, because Missouri was trapping so aggressively, it was catch, get rid of it, accelerate. It wasn't you've got to be strong with the basketball like a point guard for 45 feet to get it into the front court. And he said that worked in our favor because, in a sense, it just turned into kind of like backyard basketball. It was get it, break the press, and either that means lower your head and drive or find the open guy. You're immediately looking for the open guy. It wasn't like those 2 in that scenario had to play point guard. And there were 3 or 4 possessions in a row there where Mississippi State not only broke the press but then burned Missouri for a bucket because of that style they were playing at the end.
Yeah, Missouri didn't stay in that very long, though, did they? They got out of that kind of quickly. Not fast enough, but
they didn't have a lot of choice at that point because they were down double digits with 4 or 5 minutes to play.
Yeah, that was impressive. And the ball handling aspect you mentioned, that is really interesting. And I didn't think about this watching it. That's why he gets paid millions of dollars and I don't, because he sees stuff like that and I don't. But I didn't pick up on that while watching the game. That there's an easy way to avoid having to have one guy handle the ball in a pressure situation like that the entire length of the court. Just pass your way out of it. And you don't have to worry about a guy that may not be great at handles and beating people when they're pressing so bad, and you just boom, 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 pass it up the court, and suddenly you're working the shot clock down and running your regular offense. I did not put that together watching the game at all.
And defense and rebounding is what's kept Jeffries on the court. He's not been shooting the ball well, and he didn't shoot the ball well Saturday night. He's 1 of 6 from deep, but he had 3 dunks. And I think that's where he needs to concentrate more on his game. He needs to be slashing to the basket, driving to the basket, cutting, and trying to get easier looks, because the three-point ball is not falling for him, but he's still, he's going to play because he's a good defender, and State needs him for the ball handling as well.
We've talked about this in football, we've talked about this in baseball, and it certainly is the case now in basketball. When you win, if you're a really good team, when you win, each game gets bigger. So you're chasing a division championship in football. You're chasing a 10-win season. You're chasing an outright conference title. You win a game to get to 8-0, 9-1. That makes your next game that much bigger because the stakes are that much higher because you're that much closer. This is a different scenario, but the point remains the same. Mississippi State is now in a spot where with each successive win, it's now 3 in a row. They'll try to make it 4 in a row against LSU on Wednesday night, I think.
Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, yeah.
So that makes that game against LSU that much bigger than it was or would have been. And if Mississippi State wins against LSU, then what? On the road against Arkansas? Is that the one after?
Arkansas. Yes.
That makes that road trip to Arkansas really big. Now, the road trip to Arkansas falls into that opportunity category. Right?
Yeah.
That is an opportunity for Mississippi State to grab hold of its postseason fate. I don't know that losing that game, that there's a consequence for that loss. It just means your margin for error going forward is a little bit smaller, but it's a huge opportunity if you're able to somehow steal that one on the road. And Arkansas is not – now, you would rather play Arkansas on the road than at home. Bud Walton Arena, just a hard place to play, period. Arkansas went to South Carolina this past weekend and won by 2. And South Carolina had a back cut reverse layup that they missed. That was the difference in winning and losing, right? Or maybe sending it to overtime. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly what the score was at that sequence. Arkansas is not unbeatable by any stretch.
And they're not super strong down low.
Yeah.
They're not super strong down low where State is.
That's a good point.
So it's another interesting game. But you're right. There's a taste of survive and advance already for Mississippi State because they have to play games like they play Wednesday against LSU where they have to win. They can't lose that game and hope to have any kind of push going forward. They have to beat LSU.